Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today is Wednesday, September 25th, 2019. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's baseball games, look ahead to today's games. I believe there are a couple games on their way right now. WNBA, go over yesterday's Game 4 between the Mystics and the Aces. NFL Week 4 Power Rankings and my best bet of the day. Okay, we'll start in Major League Baseball. I promise I'll be quick here on the scores and whatnot. I want to get a quick podcast done and out of the way today. I want to also get a lot into my NFL Power Rankings and whatnot. So we'll get baseball out of the way. We'll talk more about baseball come Monday next week as the playoffs will start. Finals from yesterday. Rays over the Yankees 2-1 in 12 innings on a walk-off homer by Jai Manchoy. Big win for the Rays. They are right there for the National League wild card, tied with the Cleveland Indians. That was a game that they had to have. Nats over the Phillies 4-1 in game 1 of the doubleheader. Twins over the Tigers 4-2. They're close to clinching the Central. Brewers over the Reds 4-2. Their magic number to clinch a playoff spot is now 1. Nationals over the Phillies 6-5. They clinched. Pirates over the Cubs 9-2. Cubs tragic numbers down to 1. What a massive collapse by that team. Orioles over the Blue Jays 11-4. So Baltimore showing some stuff here late in the year. Mets over the Marlins 5-4 on a walk-off walk by Brendan Nimmo. The Mets tragic numbers down to 1. Indians over the White Sox 11-0. Big win for Cleveland. They keep themselves with the Rays. Red Sox over the Rangers 12-10. Royals over the Braves 9-6. Dodgers with that Braves loss clinch home field in the National League. Diamondbacks over the Cardinals 3-2 in 19 innings on a walk-off RBI single by Ildarmo Vargas. So Cardinals have yet to clinch that division. Rockies over the Giants 8-5 in 16 innings. Angels over the Athletics 3-2. A bad loss for the A's as the Indians and the Rays get a little closer to them. Dodgers over the Padres 6-3. Astros over the Mariners 3-0. Dodgers still are kind of playing for home field advantage. They think they're tied with the Yankees right now for second. So the key here is that the Yankees have the tiebreaker over them. But Houston is up a game and a half on the Yankees with their 3-0 victory over the Mariners. So there's that. Going on right now is the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks just got on their way. That's the only game that's going on right now. Cardinals need it to get themselves closer to a division title. You have Merrill Kelly for Arizona and Michael Wacha for the Cards. And by the way, 2 men on, nobody out for the Diamondbacks in the bottom of the first. 6:40 Twins Tigers. You have Danny Norris for Detroit and Randy Dobnak for Minnesota. Norris trying to get a look here if he somebody that Detroit likes for their future. I know they have a lot in their farm system. I'm going to do farm system talk in October before the AFL gets underway, the Arizona Fall Week. I know some players are doing it, but before that really fully gets underway, because you have all the minor league championships going on and stuff right now. Brewers, Reds. You have Jordan Lyles and Tyler Mahle. 7 o'clock ESPN, Yankees against the Rays. Jonathan Loáisiga and Charlie Morton. I'm taking the Rays here at home. Charlie Morton's been great this season. Not necessarily against the Yankees, though, but he's been great at Tropicana Field all year long. Yankees bullpen's tired from yesterday. I think the Yankees know their destiny's Minnesota in the first round, and I think that's better off for them, honestly, because I think the Twins are very fraudulent, and I think that Cleveland, Tampa, and Oakland are all teams that are better equipped for the postseason than the Minnesota Twins. So give me the Rays here to get themselves closer to a wildcard berth at home against the Yankees. Although the Yankees themselves are probably thinking, okay, we want to at least try to knock the Rays out of the playoffs. They're a division rival. Yeah, we owned them all year. Like, I could see like a Yankees going to knock out the Rays narrative going on, kind of like how they tried to knock out the Red Sox when they played them a few weeks back. So I could see that narrative playing in here if the Yankees get up and beat up Charlie Morton pretty good today. You have the Phillies at the Nationals. Phillies eliminated Drew Smyly and Anibal Sanchez. Nationals just need to clinch home field for the wildcard game, so that's what they're playing for. Cubs with the Pirates, meaningless game. John Lester and Daryl Grazel. Orioles, Blue Jays, meaningless game. Gabriel Noah and Jacob Wazapak. Marlins, Mets. You have Jacob deGrom against Robert Duggar. You got Red Sox at the Rangers at 8 o'clock. Rick Porcello and Colby Allard. Indians, White Sox at 8 o'clock. Shane Bieber and Ross Dittweiler. Braves at the Royals at 8:15. Josh Tomlin and Mike Montgomery. So Braves pretty much locked into that 2 seed right now. They're 96 and 62. The Cardinals are right now 90 and 68. So 6 games separates them. So Cardinals are locked up in the 3. Braves locked up in the 2. So that's a first round series, it looks like. Rockies at the Giants at 9:45. You have Tommy Melville and Jeff Samardzija. 10 o'clock ESPN Athletics Angels. Frankie Montas and Andrew Heaney. Frankie Montas back from the ban, making his first start in 3 months. He obviously cannot pitch in the postseason. But he's somebody that I think will help the Athletics to get to a big road win, game they absolutely need. They had the win yesterday. They blew it. I think they'll bounce back here and win against the Troutless Angels. Dodgers, Padres. You have Ross Stripling and Daniil Lamet. And last but not least, Astros at the Mariners. You have Zach Greinke against Yusei Kikuchi. WNBA, the Mystics defeat the Aces 94-90. The Mystics advance to the WNBA Finals. They knock off the Aces in 4 games. The Aces deserve credit for being competitive throughout the series. They're a good team, but they're lost to the team that has the better player in Elena Delle Donne as Washington advances to their 2nd straight WNBA Finals. Delle Donne had 25 points, 6 boards. Liz Cambridge had 25 for Vegas. Christy Tolliver started for the Mystics. She had 20 points and 6 boards. So 20 points and 9 assists. The 6 boards is Delle Donne's. What am I saying? And then Elise Mieseman had 22 points, 3 boards, 3 assists. Meanwhile, for the Aces, I mentioned Cambridge had 25 with 12 boards. Kelsey Plum had 17 with 5 assists. Jackie Young and Aja Wilson and Kayla McBride, none of them have stepped up. So that really is what held them back in this game. And now their season's over. I still think that team has a bright future. Wilson's somebody that's just entering her prime. Cambridge is somebody that's going to be there a while, I think. You also have Jackie Young, who's a good player. So that team should be good within the next couple years, or remain to be good, I should say. And the WNBA Finals will get underway Sunday, 3 o'clock on ESPN as the Mystics host the Suns. So when was the first time we had 2 Eastern Conference teams in the WNBA Finals? I think that's the first time it's ever happened because it's been Sparks and Mercury and Mystics since they took away the East versus West thing. So this is the first time 2 East teams have ever been in the WNBA Finals against each other. I have to ask Jeff Maglicetti about that one. All right, power rankings for the NFL for Week 4. Go from 32 to 1, a lot of changes. 32, the Miami Dolphins. Yikes. That team's just really bad. I think you'll see Josh Rosen again against the Chargers at home. The Jets are 32. You'll see Luke Falk against the Eagles next time they play. They obviously have a bye this week. 30 to Cincinnati Bengals. A team that's coming off a bit of a heartbreaking loss in Buffalo. Had the lead at one point, and then Josh Allen led the Bills to a game-winning drive. Cincinnati has Pittsburgh next on Monday Night Football. 29 to Washington Redskins. This is clearly the worst team in the NFC in my mind. I know a week ago we probably all thought it was the Giants, but after Monday night and after the emergence of Daniel Jones, it really looks like the Redskins are the worst team in this conference. They need to switch to Dwayne Haskins. I'm sick of Jay Gruden and his excuses, and that's a coach that I think is probably going to be the first one fired. And next up, the Redskins are at the Giants and Daniel Jones, so that's ironic. It would have been a nice spot for them to start Haskins, by the way, against a shoddy Giants defense. 29, the Arizona Cardinals. A disappointing performance in my mind against the Panthers at home, and you're a favorite. Next up for Arizona, they host Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Maybe they get their first win against the vulnerable Seahawks team. We'll see. 27th, the Denver Broncos, coming off the loss in Green Bay. They're 0-3. Coming up, they have, I believe, they play the Jaguars at home. Yes, and Gardner Minshew. So that should be an interesting game. 26 is the Oakland Raiders, coming off the bad loss in Minnesota against the Vikings. They're playing the Colts in Indianapolis next. Number 25 is the Tennessee Titans, coming off the Thursday night loss against the Jaguars. They're at the Falcons next in an interleague game. 24th, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bad loss to the Giants last week. Obviously, the missed kick. That was just so lost in the Daniel Jones mania thing. That was just a horrendous loss for the Bucs. Like, Bruce Arians told his team to spike the ball so he could move his kicker back. And that obviously came back to bite him as they lost against the Giants, who are number 23 on my list. The Bucs next up have to play the Rams in LA, so that's not pretty. Giants, meanwhile, have a chance to get back to 500 as they host the Washington Redskins this week. 22 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, I have a winless Steelers team over a couple teams that already have wins. I just think the Steelers were a little unlucky in that game. They're competitive against the 49ers. They have the Bengals coming up, opportunity for them to get their first win at home on Monday Night Football. 21 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're coming off their first win against the Titans at home on Thursday Night Football. They're at Denver next week, so Gardner Minshew could be in for a rude awakening if that Broncos pass rush decides to wake up. Number 20 is the Detroit Lions, coming off the big win in Philly against the injury-ravaged Eagles. Detroit hosts the Chiefs next. So that's a bit of a prove-it game for Detroit coming up. 19 is the Cleveland Browns. They're 1-2. Everybody's criticizing Freddie Kitchens for some bad play calling throughout that game. The Browns are at the Ravens this week. 18, the Seattle Seahawks. They're 2-1, but I think they're a fraudulent 2-1, and that really proved it against the Drew Breesless Saints a week ago. So they get a huge punishment for me for losing to the Drew Breesless Saints. Like, come on. And you were favored in that game, too. And Teddy Bridgewater's not that good. And really, the Saints won that game because the Seahawks turned the ball over a bunch and they allowed a special teams touchdown, too. Seahawks are at Arizona next week against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. 17 is the Carolina Panthers, who look like a much better team with Kyle Allen. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's like Eli and the Giants thing with them putting Jones in. But the difference is that Cam Newton's clearly not 100%. And Kyle Allen is somebody that really took advantage of the talent that's on that roster with Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Greg Olsen. So that's a nice sort of big four on offense there. As Carolina's at Houston next week, that's going to be a challenge with that solid pass rush. Number 16 is the Philadelphia Eagles, injury-ravaged Eagles. They're 1-2. Tough test for them next week, or I should say tomorrow, when they're at the Packers on Thursday Night Football. Number 15 is the Atlanta Falcons. They're 1-2. They're ahead of the Eagles because they beat them head-to-head. They just lost against the Colts and Jacoby Brissett. Coming up, they host the Titans, in which should be a get-right spot for them. 14 is the Los Angeles Chargers. Speaking of get-right teams, that's a team that's 1-2, but they're by far the best 1-2 team in the league in my mind because the Eagles are injury-ravaged. I thought the Chargers were a little unlucky the last 2 weeks, losing to the Texans and losing to the Lions. They're in a bit of a get-right spot coming up Sunday when they're in Miami against the inept Dolphins. Number 13 is the San Francisco 49ers. I think this is probably the most fraudulent 3-0 team in the league. They beat the Roethlisbergerless Steelers, the Bengals, who suck, and Jameis Winston handed them that game in week 1. So I think that 3-0 is very fraudulent. And coming up for the Niners, they have a bye, and I don't know what they have after that. So a bye week for a team that really doesn't need one, with a lot of momentum in their favor. 12 is the Chicago Bears. They're 2-1. They're starting to look like the team we thought they were going to be. Like, solid quarterback play from Trubisky. That was by far his best game of the season. And then obviously that great defense, which is their calling card and which should carry them to a playoff spot this year. They have a big one this week as they host the team that I have number 11 on this list, and that's the Minnesota Vikings within their division. I think this game will come a long way in deciding the NFC North. I know the Packers still have a lot to say, obviously, with their fine defense. I'll get to them. But to me, it comes down to which quarterback, who both quarterbacks obviously have reputations of stat padding bad teams, especially Cousins, steps up. But to me, what matters in this game potentially could be home field advantage, but you never know. You'll find out my pick on Friday. 10's the Indianapolis Colts. This is a good football team. Yes, I know Andrew Luck is gone, but Brissett's been solid so far. The only thing that hurts them, in my opinion, right now is the injury to T.Y. Hilton. That is a big loss for the Colts, especially if he has to miss some time. 9's the Buffalo Bills. They're 3-0. A team that really, I think, is a little fraudulent as well. Wins against a bad Jets team, a bad Giants team. Oh, Eli Manning was quarterbacking the Giants. Maybe if it was Jones, it's a different game. But they probably still win that game because the Giant defense isn't good. And I think Jones would have been under more pressure in that game because it was a home game. But I think the Giants did the right thing by starting him on the road in this first start. I thought that was a fantastic decision by them. But Bills, anyway, beat Sam Darnold with mono, Eli Manning, who's washed up, and an Andy Dalton, who sucks. So I think the Bills are a fraudulent 3-0, and it could very well show as they host Tom Brady and the New England Patriots on Sunday. 8's the Green Bay Packers, another fraudulent 3-0 team, in the sense that their defense is really what won them these games, not really their offense. This team kind of reminds me of the 2016 New York Giants. That's going to be the team with a bad head coach that makes the playoffs because of their defense and the occasional big play on offense. Like, Aaron Rodgers, I think, is still a good quarterback. He's just not the same quarterback he used to be, and I think people need to accept that. Sean Verma said this on my podcast before. Although he's optimistic about the Packers, and I think he's optimistic about the Packers because of their defense, and rightfully so. Their defense is excellent. But I just don't love this offense, and I think at some point they'll come back to earth. I don't know if it'll be this week against injury-ravaged Philly, although Alshon Jeffrey's going to be back for them. But it's going to happen at some point. Although they do have the Dallas Cowboys coming up in week number 5. In Big D, by the way. 7's the New Orleans Saints. They're 2-1. Courtesy of their defense, special teams making some plays, and Alvin Kamara being the special talent he is. If they are 500 when Breeze comes back, they're going to win that division. Like, I'm just saying that right now, and I said that when Breeze got hurt. I think the Saints will be fine. I just thought that this game was going to be a game that they were going to lose, probably, because the Seahawks, I don't think, are that good, but they got the win. So maybe they'll be over 500 when Drew Brees comes back. So we'll see. 6 is the Houston Texans. That was a very nice win in LA against the Chargers last week. One of the more impressive wins of the season in my mind, although the Chiefs had a good win the other day, which I'll get to. Deshaun Watson has really been playing well. He won the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. The NFC Offensive Player of the Week was Daniel Jones. But Watson's been playing well. The defense made some big stops against a good Chargers offense. And by the way, Chargers might be getting Melvin Gordon back at some point, so that's good news for them. So, next up for the Saints, I forgot to mention they're home against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. That's a big test for that team. Texans next week are home against the Kyle Allen-led Panthers. 5's the LA Rams, a narrow win at the Browns last week. I think they lose that game if not for Freddie Kitchens making dumb mistakes. They host the Bucks in what should be a weird way a get-right game. I wasn't impressed with the Rams last week. I actually picked the Browns to beat the Rams last week. That was a mistake. But anyway, the Rams have a chance to get right a little bit against a bad Bucks team. For the Ravens, that was a good loss. Like, if you ask me who has the best loss so far, it's the Baltimore Ravens, and quite frankly, it's not close. You have no shame in losing to Mahomes in Arrowhead. I'm sorry, no shame in that. I have to give the Ravens credit for scoring with the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson is for real, and I was wrong about Lamar in the sense that I just didn't think he was going to be good this year. I thought he was going to be good eventually, but I was not sold on their offense. And now, quite frankly, I pretty much am. Like, their offense is really good, but who are the defenses they've gone up against? Dolphins, they're a shit defense. We know that. Cardinals, shit defense. Chiefs, kind of a shit defense. I need to see them go up against a good defense. The Browns' defense isn't terrible, although they did a good job against the Rams. I'll give them credit for that. They went up against a shit Jets team, and then their defense was mediocre against the Titans, although Baker threw a couple pick sixes in that game, so that score was a little bit lopsided. So the Browns' defense is the best defense they'll see as they host the Browns on Sunday. So I'm interested to see how that game plays out. The Chiefs are my number 3. Their defense, to me, is still a little bit of a work in progress with Steve Spagnuolo there. But they really don't need a good defense when you have the best quarterback in the league on your team. I'm sorry. This is kind of the formula of the Packers before the Packers had a good defense back in 2011. And even some of those Patriot teams when Brady was at the highest of levels. Their defense was terrible. And then Brady just kept carrying them. So there's some pressure on the Chiefs maybe to go out and trade for Jalen Ramsey or something. That drastically improves their defense. And I think that would make them right there at New England for the co-team to beat in the AFC. Number 2, the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are an interesting team. I think this is the team to beat in the NFC right now. Granted, they played 3 of the worst 10 teams in the league, in the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Redskins. They have a nice test coming up in New Orleans against the Saints. Granted, it's without Drew Brees, so there's going to be some Cowboy haters saying, oh, well, the Saints didn't have Drew Brees. But hey, maybe Bridgewater's respectable in this game, and the Cowboys can still win. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. And by the way, the Chiefs have the Lions next up in Detroit, so possible trap game there. And then, without further notice, the number 1 is the New England Patriots until they lose, unless if them and there's no other undefeated team, or if they don't have the least amount of losses at any point. So Patriots are number 1 until further notice. They have their biggest test yet as they go to Buffalo to take on the improved Bills. But we'll see about that. Are the Bills really improved? We'll find out on Sunday as they host Tom Brady and the Pats. Before I get the best bet, I have to address an injury that I just got. Case Keenum did not practice today due to a foot injury. That's off of Adam Schefter, just off the press right now. I think Keenum will probably be okay. But I thought Keenum sucked against the Bears. I mean, sucked. And obviously, when that game was out of reach, there's some garbage time yards there, and then that game felt like it was about to matter again. In the biggest play of the game, on the 4th down, he fumbled. I think their better chance to win is with Dwayne Haskins, and they should take a page out of the notebook of their division rival Giants to sit the washed-up quarterback and play the rookie. And I think Haskins would love it if he started his first game against Jones and the Giants. I know he would play with so much fire and energy just to stick it up the Giants' butts and say, oh, you should have drafted me instead of this kid from Duke. I went to Ohio State. So I could see a world where Haskins is all fired up because he gets to start against a team that he wished he was drafted by. So it's just a foot injury. The foot's not injured per se. So we'll see if he plays on Sunday, and I'm going to assume he does. Gruden said that he's not making a quarterback change yet, so I believe him, and maybe that'll cost him his job, potentially. Best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. Some interesting baseball games on the board. A lot of games with teams in must-win situations. I know we'll have more options tomorrow with college football and the Thursday night game. So, without further ado, here we go. I'm going to take the Brewers in a game where they can clinch a playoff spot here. I'm going to go with the Twins on the road at Detroit. I'm going to take the Nats at home against the Phillies. the game they would need for a home field. The Mets at home against the Marlins. By the way, Marlins are a 4-1 underdog at the Mets in DeGrom tonight. The Indians at the White Sox. Indians trying to get that last playoff spot in the American League. I'm going to take the Athletics with Frankie Montas on the bump. I'm going to take the Astros and Zach Greinke. I'm taking the Dodgers on the road at the Padres. $16.79 odds, wagering $1 payout of $17.79. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow potentially with the guests, whether it's Doug or whether it's Jeff. We'll see. We'll talk about football. Preview the hockey season, which starts next week. I'll try to get on my buddy Derek, and we'll try to get on John Bukacross to do some hockey as well. So Doug on the Talk Hockey tomorrow. We'll talk about Daniel Jones. We'll talk about the league as it's within the 3 weeks already, and obviously the end of the baseball season. His razor about the clinch a playoff spot. And tomorrow's podcast, baseball, football, in both college and the pros. Bowl projections for week 5. I was supposed to do that today, but we're going to do it tomorrow instead. So, hope you guys have a great day, everybody.